Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be covering very briefly what some of the things that could be on a case plan for a birth parent or a bio parent who is trying to get their child back from foster care. So yeah, if you're interested in hearing a little bit about that, stick around. But first, if you're new here, my name is Anna Leonora. Together with my husband, Jason, we are foster and adoptive parents in real life. And here on my channel From the Fosters, we do foster parenting and adoptive parenting life together, and we raise awareness for the foster care system and for foster parenting. So if any of that interests you, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel down below so that you can join my growing cyber family here on YouTube. I want to start this video with a disclaimer that there are all sorts of things that can be on these case plans. There's all kinds of stuff. Lots and lots and lots of things can be on these case plans. It's going to be state dependent, county dependent, case dependent, okay? So there's no possible way for me to go through everything that could be on a case plan. So what I'm going to do is just run through kind of quickly because I want this to be just a short, easy to digest video. I'm just going to go through some of the things that I have seen on case plans, things that I have known to be on case plans, or things that I've heard of being on other people's case plans. Just some of the more common things that I've seen or heard of. But again, I just really want to stress that not everything that I'm saying is on everybody's case plan. And some people's case plans will have more on them than what I'm saying. It's very case dependent, but it also is state and county dependent. So a couple of the things, one of the big ones that we see a lot, at least in my county, we have a very large opiate issue where I live. So we see drug testing, random drug testing on case plans a lot. We see drug rehab on case plans, attending and completing a rehab program, testing negative for non-prescribed drugs X amount of times in a row or for X amount of months, again, depending on the case. Sometimes we see things like bio parents are required to go to certain doctor's appointments, like if they're on a drug like Suboxone, and I guess I should say medication at that point. If they're on a medication like methadone or Suboxone to help keep them sober from the opiates, they have to have documentation that they went to the doctor and that they're taking those medications as prescribed, that they're seeing their doctor as prescribed. If they do test positive for any drugs that could be prescription but are controlled substances, being able to produce documentation from a doctor or from a prescription that they are prescribed that medication. So a lot of that sort of stuff that's in that vein and realm of addiction. There can also be things like mental health evaluations and mental health like therapy and help. And that can be, again, dependent. They may only need to go once for an evaluation and the evaluation says they don't need further help. Or maybe it says, they need to complete X amount of mental health appointments. And then, proving that. They have to have documentation. It has to be proven that they actually went to the appointments, not just them saying they went. There has to be actual proof that they did it. I've also heard of certain physical health. If you have someone with a physical disability that makes it maybe challenging for them to care for a child, having some sort of documentation or proof that they are doing what they need to do in terms of their physical health to be able to care for a child. And my example for that one is I knew someone who had a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, which made it hard for her to move just in general. And, the CPS wanted her to go to the doctor to get prescriptions for medication like gabapentin so that she would be able to move her body and care for a young child, because young children require a lot of physical activity from their adult caretakers, let me tell you. I know that firsthand experience because I have some very hyperactive children, but I've seen things like that in terms of physical health like that on case plans. There can be things like parenting classes. There can be things like anger management. There can be things like cleaning your home. If you live in a home that is unsafe or unsanitary or condemned, and it's just really unsafe conditions for a child, I've heard of them asking for like exterminators to come out to very infested homes, cleaning up animal feces off the floor, making sure that you have working heating and air. Now, I'm not talking about like central heating and air, but at least like a window unit or a working fan. We live in the South. It gets hot in the summer. And to not have any sort of AC or fan or any sort of air movement can be a risk to people that live in that home, including children whose bodies are not able to regulate their temperatures the same way an adults could. So I've seen things like that, even if you can't afford like central heating and air, getting a fan. But general like electricity, they usually want the home to have electricity, working water. I have seen a home that was on, I think they were on like a well pump or something, and the well pump went out. So they didn't have water for a really long time, which meant no drinking water, no bathing water, no toilet water. And those, after a period of time, can lead to very unsafe conditions to live in. So working water, working electricity, getting exterminators out to clean out any sort of infestations. If you have a lot of chemicals and medications or drugs just out and about throughout the house, where kids could just crawl around and get into them, getting those cleaned up and put away. I've seen things like CPS paying to have a big dumpster delivered to someone's house so they can throw all the trash and unsafe stuff away. And then, CPS has Waste Management come out and just take the big dumpster. I've seen things like that. Having transportation or some sort of ability to get the child to their appointments and to school. I've also seen things where they have to do like interactions with the child, certain interactions, because maybe it's been noted that a parent, instead of interacting with their child, reading to them, playing with them, talking to them, a parent will just sit on their cell phone and ignore their kid. And while that in and of itself is not a reason to remove a child and take them into foster care, that often goes along with a lot of the other issues that come with a child being neglected. So sometimes there will be a need to monitor a parent's interaction with their child, and giving parents tools and tricks, flashcards to do with them, and books and other things like that, or even finding games or apps that they can do on the phone together, just so that there can be some interaction. So yeah, it really comes down to like drug rehab and drug addiction, proving that you can stay sober. Again, the same with alcohol. They can test for alcohol. They can request that you do rehab of some sort for alcohol. Mental health help is a big one. Physical health help, sometimes they do that, but not always. Making sure the home is clean and safe. Now, we're not talking about a pristine home, and we're not expecting these people to live in 5-bedroom houses, but their home has to be at least livable and not in a state that would be considered condemned, and in a state where children can get into dangerous things like animal feces, chemicals, medications, fall through holes in the floor, or get diseases because there's some infestation of something or another, things like that. So I've seen them request to clean that sort of stuff up, and not only just clean it up, but often they ask for the parents to maintain the cleaned up environment, because CPS will often help financially or with resources or whatever in getting the home cleaned up, but the parents have to prove that they can be able to maintain it, because children are messy and they're a lot of work. A home gets messy and it's a lot of work, and you have to be able to maintain that to keep the environment safe for the children living there. So I've seen them ask, and the period of time would honestly depend, I imagine, but I've seen them ask for 3 months. Like once it gets to a state that is considered safe enough for the child, then the clock starts. You have 3 months. We need to see you maintain it for these 3 months. And I'm sure that could be shortened or lengthened depending on the case. And yeah, like I said, interacting with the children, sometimes anger management classes, parenting classes. I'm sure I said that. Therapy. proving that you're going to your doctor's appointments, getting your medications prescribed legally and accurately, and you're taking them accurately. Yeah, I think those are kind of the big ones. They also really work, CPS works really well, at least in my county, with working with bio parents on knowing what their resources are. A lot of them just don't know what their options are for resources. So CPS helps make sure that they know their options for things like food stamps. They know their options for things like Medicaid for health insurance, things to help with like transport if they don't have a vehicle, a working vehicle, ways that they can help get bus passes, or other ways to get around, to get to appointments and to get their kid to school and things like that. Just all of the resources that are available to them to try to help them be successful in reunifying and meeting these goals. Often, the rehabs, mental health appointments, doctor's appointments, a lot of them are either covered by Medicaid or covered by the state, or covered by certain grants, things like that, so that the parents don't have to pay for them. Sometimes they do have to pay for some expenses. I'm sure there are some programs where exterminators could be covered by the state, but I've also heard of parents having to pay for that expense themselves. I've heard of parents having to pay for the parenting classes themselves, which around here I think is $80 for the total course, which to some people is a lot of money. That's a big financial burden to some people. So I don't know if there are grants and things that help pay for that, but I have heard of parents around here being asked to pay for that. But yeah, those are just, again, these are some of the big ones that I've heard of. There, I'm sure, are plenty others that could be on someone's case plan. And again, not everything that I mentioned will be on every parent's case plan. If a parent doesn't have any issues with substances, then drug testing and rehab isn't something that's going to be on their plan, because why would it be if that's not an issue of theirs? And again, anger management, maybe anger is not their problem. Maybe anger has nothing to do with anything about why their child's in foster care. So why would anger management be on their plan? You know what I mean? It's really tailored to state and county laws and then the particular case. So it can be all kinds of stuff. I hope that helps a little bit. If you have further questions about this one, leave them down below. Or if you are a foster parent or a birth parent, or a social worker, and there's anything big that I missed that you want to include it down in the comments down below. I think this is a good one. This is one I haven't touched on before. So this was a really good question. I got this on my last video, so thank you. You know who you are that asked it, and I appreciate it. I hope that this helped. Otherwise, if you do have any other questions for me, leave them down below, or you can go find me on Instagram. I'm at From the Fosters on Instagram, and my DMs are open over there as well. I'm going to see if the camera picks that up. That's my cat scratching at the back door. He is such a mess. Anyway, as always, I love you guys, and I hope that you got some sort of value from this video. If you did, do me a favor by giving it a thumbs up. Otherwise, until next time, go out and continue to shine your light into the world. I love you all. Bye.